Hello everybody, welcome to the Geekdom. This is Lady Kaylah here, and today we're going to do a Game of Thrones Season 3 Episode 1 review, and I'm so excited. Sorry if this review is kind of scattered, it's been a while since I've done one, and it's going to get me a little getting used to getting back into it. So if you have been here for the past 2 seasons, welcome back. If you are new, then just welcome. I hope you enjoy this. The reason why I do these is because I love to talk Game of Thrones with people. It's just what I do. It's what I love to do. As a warning, I do sometimes use the books as a basis for comparison. I guess it's a habit that some book readers pick up. So sorry about that. Actually, I'm not sorry about that. But you've been warned. If you like that. If you don't like that, you'll find out, I guess. So, anyways, up north, beyond the wall, we have Sam running for his life. And after seeing that entire crazy army of White Walkers, I'm not surprised. The only sad thing is when Sam finally gets found by his other brothers, he didn't let the ravens go, and so nobody knows they're out there, nobody knows they've been under attack, nobody knows they're in danger, and obviously they know they're out there because they're rangers, but nobody knows, their status update, why, what their progress is, basically. So anyways, that's what sucks, and I love the expression that the brothers make when they find out that Sam didn't release the ravens. It wasn't anger, it was kind of just like this hopelessness, and I was just like so sad, like just that look of hopelessness was so just disheartening. So also beyond the wall, Jon Snow finally gets to the camp where he's going to meet Mance and he's going to find out his fate. So, first, before he actually does that, we see a giant, and I was so excited. I don't know why, but, like, even though we've seen direwolves and we've seen the White Walkers, I didn't really see it as that fantastical. I just, like, accepted it as, like, just part of the world. It didn't really seem, like, too fantastic, and then we see the giant. And that's when I was like, wow, this is really a fantasy. Like, sometimes I just forget because it seems so realistic almost. So I just really thought there was something mesmerizing and fantastical about the giant. And I was really expecting a Last of the Giants reference, but that didn't happen. So perhaps maybe in the future. But I really was hoping for that, but it didn't happen. By the way, I just love Ygritte. I just have to say that because she's great every time she's with Jon Snow. You just capture her essence and, her function of Jon Snow. Like, I swear, it's like the very definition of boy toy is how Ygritte treats Jon Snow. And, I can't wait to see their relationship progress. So, finally, I also wanted to mention, the wildlings and how they treat the crows, or the brothers of the Night's Watch, and you find out it's because the Night's Watch has killed some of these people, and you start to know their culture and how they're just people. And so it's kind of weird seeing people killing people, and this comes into play later when Jon Snow finally meets Mance, and his excuse was, I just want to fight, on the side of that's fighting for life. And obviously, we know Jon Snow is there to spy, but I really think that this is going to come into play when he realizes, the wildlings are people, and the true enemy is not them, it's the White Walkers. And so, I think that's going to foreshadow definitely how Jon Snow sees this way of living and begins to understand it. So I can't wait to see what happens there. Later, we get Tyrion, and Tyrion was probably one of the highlights of this episode, because we note that he's, like, super paranoid, and he has a reason to be. I believe the reason he's lost his, or not lost his nose, that's in the books, but in the show, the reason he has this huge scar is because I think, I believe it was like a member of the Night's Watch that attacked him, and so, he's super paranoid. I mean, like, it wasn't even an enemy that attacked him, it was a member of the Night's Watch, someone who has, you know, status in the court. So, that's pretty scary. We see Tyrion acting paranoid, and then we get the scene where his sister comes in, and she's acting a little bit differently. I think she's acting more sisterly toward him than anything. Not sisterly in, like, a loving way, but sisterly in a sibling rivalry sort of way. So, she's acting a bit different. She's acting kind of, like, shady. She's acting very suspicious. And so, I thought that was a little weird. So, I wonder if Tyrion also picked up on that. But the highlight was Tyrion and his father, Tywin. You know, we all picked up that Tywin doesn't really care for his son that much. We all basically attributed it to, Tyrion's dwarfism, but here in this scene, like, Tywin lays it out on the table, all these reasons why he doesn't find Tyrion to be his true son, and, you know, whether that's just metaphorically or literally, because he does say, you know, I can't prove that you're mine, and I have a Tyrion equals Targaryen theory, video if you ever want to watch that, but either way, you know, he basically kind of disowned Tyrion in the most legal way possible, sorry, and it was just a horrible scene. Like, I just wanted to cry for Tyrion, because not, like, you know, Tyrion loves his father, you can tell, and you can tell how hurt he was, and no matter how hardened he became over life, you still saw that moment completely crush Tyrion, and I just, it was so horrible. Next, was Sansa, and I'm not doing this in chronological order by which the show showed each scene, so whatever. We get Sansa, and I really like how they show her, like, playing out, like, some of her girlish fantasies. You know, she's been through a lot, yet she's still, trying to hold on to her innocence, even though she's been abused, and, you know, she's playing a little game with Shay, and I really liked how they were showing Sansa as that. However, I didn't like the way they went about Peter saving her. The reason for this is because it completely destroys both Sansa and Peter's character, and this is why. Peter is the ultimate, like, game player. He can manipulate anything, he can do everything so sneaky, and they just have not captured that in this show. And so it's kind of disappointing that he just straight out said, oh yeah, if I can save you, I will, just be prepared. When in the books, it was this whole elaborate scheme and plan, and it had to be, because Sansa was basically on lockdown. It's not that easy getting her out, and I think Peter's the type of character that even if it was easy getting her out, he still would have done the most simple, I mean, not the most simple, the most elaborate, like, escape plan. He still would have done it, because he's the type that will not let anything lead back to him. And then he basically said, oh, when I leave, I might be able to take you with me. Peter would never do that. Peter would never say, oh, you know, Sansa just so happens to disappear the same day I do. What? that would just, like, scream, oh, I think Peter took her. So it destroys Peter's character as this master of schemes, and it destroys Sansa's character, because while she's waiting to be saved, she develops a lot. Just because Joffrey's kind of distracted by Margaery, and, you know, he's no longer engaged to Sansa, Sansa's still going through a lot. She develops emotionally, and she just goes through all sorts of character development this whole time while Peter's trying to save her. In fact, we don't even know that Peter's the one trying to save her until the very, very end. And so I'm a little disappointed at that. I hope they still develop Sansa's character. But I did like the Roz and Shay scene where, you know, Roz is like, you know, be careful with her with him because, well, she doesn't give a because, but, it was really eerie, and so that kind of, like, set up this kind of eerie, like, oh, let's watch out, kind of tone. I really thought it had the effect that it intended to have, and I really liked that. Margaery, she is the epitome of smart. She's doing all these good things under Joffrey's name because they're too high and mighty to, like, notice how important it is to please the people. So she's doing that on her own. She's winning the love of the people, which is so smart. You know, who are they going to want Joffrey to marry? Margaery, the one who's going into the city, helping the orphans, feeding the poor. They're gonna love her, and, you know, so even if, you know, they try to, like, skimp out on Margaery or abuse Margaery or, you know, not marry her to Joffrey, the people are gonna wonder why, and so she's winning the people's love, which is really, really important and very, very smart for her to do. And the dinner scene with her and her, Margaery and her brother and Cersei and Joffrey, it was so perfect. You can, like, kind of feel Cersei's distrust of Margaery, and I don't know if this is because she feels like she's taking her little boy away, because, you know, Sansa was being abused by Joffrey. There was no threat that Sansa was going to manipulate Joffrey into doing anything. And here we have Margaery, who's completely captivated Joffrey, who Joffrey is trying to impress, and, you know, the people are starting to love Margaery, and so I don't know if she's afraid that she's going to manipulate Joffrey. I don't know if she's afraid that, you know, the people are going to love her more, and therefore, you know, Margaery's going to be a better suited queen. It might be like an egotistical thing. I don't know why, but we can sense that Cersei has this resentment towards Margaery, and I thought it was so perfect. And when, you know, I think Joffrey says, she knows what she's doing, the way Cersei says, I'm sure she does, was so perfect. It was, like, kind of, like, suspicious, or, like, suspicious of Margaery and kind of sad, and just, like, this range of emotion where you can tell, like, Cersei really resents Margaery, and I'm not sure why. We're not given why just yet, but I really, really like that. Next, we have Davos, who was shipwrecked. Thank goodness he's alive. I really enjoy his character. I've always enjoyed his character. When I read him, I enjoyed him. And now he's back. And I really love how we see over and over and over again Davos's fierce loyalty for Stannis. You know, it's like a friendship, and it's like a love, and it's just this burning loyalty, and I really just love how that's reinstated over and over again. And then, you know, we have Melisandre versus Davos, basically, and we know Stannis, you know, kind of, and this is what kind of pisses me off, because Stannis is torn between them. He loves having Melisandre and Davos. Melisandre basically feeds his ego, and Davos basically tells him straight out, okay, this is what's up, this is what's going down, and he's the honest, truthful one. Melisandre is kind of crazy and just fans Stannis' flames, and, you know, Davos kind of just says the truth. And so, you know, Stannis understands the importance of both of them. You know, Stannis really needs his ego boosted if he's going to go through with trying to take over the realm, but he also needs a rational, I don't want to say stable, because he does trust Melisandre too, but he needs a rational, truthful mind that's going to tell him, hey, look, this is what's going on. You know, you might have your little fantasies that you're going to do what Melisandre says, but I'm going to tell you how to get there rationally. So, you know, Stannis is kind of torn between both of them. He loves both of them for his own reasons, and so it was kind of disappointing when they just take Davos away, like, Stannis just says, or Stannis just allows Melisandre to condemn him as a part of the darkness and lets him get taken away. Like, I felt that was kind of, like, strange, because, you know, Stannis really is torn between both of them, and he really likes having both of them around. And then that happens, which was just crazy, but the way it was done, the drama it brought, you know, when she whispers in his ear, you know, about his son's death, and, you know, he just passionately, like, you felt it, he just tries to kill her, and then he gets taken off. It was done convincing and perfect, and even though, you know, I don't really like how Stannis just allowed for that to happen, it was done really convincing, it was done really well. I still liked it, and so that's that. Then we get Robb, and honestly, this scene was like, it was dull. I mean, I didn't care for it. I mean, we got some important information, you know, these Northerners got slaughtered, you know, lost a bunch of men, and, you know, we see a bit about, you know, his mother, and, you know, basically locking her up. Obviously, she's a lady, so she gets to get put in, like, a room instead of, like, a dungeon or something. So, I actually understand why Robb does this, because even though she's his mother, like, you saw his eyes, like, he looks at his mother, he sees her as his mother, and then he looks at his other men who, you know, his mother's betrayal hurt. And so, you know, he's torn between, like, you know, I don't want to do this to my mother, but at the same time I have all these men who are hurting because they lost their sons because of my mother, and, you know, you have to balance it out. And so Robb's put in a hard place. His wife, oh my god, I'm getting so pissed off, because I'm like, okay, you have time together, Letnick, now. Can you just make your freaking romance convincing? I mean, you married this girl, like, you love her to the point where you married her. Like, can you give us a reason to see why this relationship happened? Like, at least, you know, show her giving you emotional support. Show her, you know, even if you want to, like, take it and twist it into, oh, they fight, or, like, you know, she, like, the rational side of him, or she goes against what he says because, you know, she believes he shouldn't treat his mother that way, you know, at least something. Like, maybe they headbutt about the mother sometimes, and no, she's just like, oh, she's just your mother, and he just, oh yeah, well, I have to do this because the men are, like, kind of hard. It was so dry. I'm like, why did you marry her? Get some passion in there or something. I'm just, so I did a whole video on that. You can watch that if you want more detail. But, the most interesting part about the scene was they found a survivor. And we don't know the significance of that yet. So, that was disappointing. But anyways, we end with Daenerys, and we see her dragons. They're getting bigger. They're so cute. So far, they're still kind of not useful for taking over kingdoms, so she needs to go find an army. But what's available to her are a bunch of unsullied slaves, and so they're super badass warriors, but they're slaves, and the way they're trained is completely horrid. So, you know, Daenerys, as, you know, a mother figure, both for her dragons and for the people she cares for, like Dothraki, and also when she got her Dothraki, she got a bunch of slaves with the Dothraki as well, because the weakest of the Khalasar stayed with her, because when the other Khalasars broke apart, they took the strongest ones. So anyways, she, like, doesn't treat them like slaves or anything. She freed them and all that. So, you know, she doesn't feel comfortable with getting slaves, even, like, these poor people who got their humanity stripped from them. Everything that makes them human got stripped from them. And she doesn't feel comfortable with that at all. So she's torn. We're going to find out if she actually does it or not, or how she does it. And then we get the assassination plot, and this is done really short and really quickly, but it got the point across. You know, you have this cute innocent girl, and then you have this hooded figure, and so you assume the hooded figure is going to be the assassin, but it's really the little girl. And you know, it happened really quickly, really fast, but it had the intended effect. And it turns out that the guy who saved her is Barristan the Bold, and I'm kind of concerned that maybe like non-book readers didn't know who Barristan, well, didn't remember who Barristan was, especially like if you haven't rewatched the seasons for a while. But either way, if you do know who Barristan Bold was and you remembered, I'm pretty sure this was like a super badass moment. And so I was so excited. And then you see Jorah's face, and he's like, it's like kind of concerned and surprised because, you know, Jorah is an exiled knight, and Sir Barristan the Bold is the epitome of the most honorable knight you can ever imagine. And so, you know, it's a really dramatic moment where, you know, Barristan the Bold, one of the greatest knights in history, like, he's seriously, his name is going to outlive many generations. So, he swears fealty to Daenerys, and so Daenerys has one of the greatest knights in the kingdom swearing fealty to her, and so I thought that was awesome. Jorah is sexy, by the way, I just had to point that out. And so that's how it ends, and I'm excited. So Daenerys definitely wins the biggest wow factor for this episode, and other than that, everything was kind of like done kind of like at a quick pace, not super exciting, a lot of setup, but it was all convincing, and I think ultimately everything was wrapped up nicely and solidly. And so I said it before the season even started that this is going to be Daenerys' season, just face it. I'm excited because I love Daenerys, which is why I was upset about Daenerys' portrayal last season, which I mean to do a video on later. So, before this stretches out any longer, let us just wrap up with one of my friends named Kyle. His YouTube username is like Mr. Lone Wolf 90 something. I will put that in the description below. He just barely got into Game of Thrones, and he is going to be reviewing Game of Thrones, so if you want to check out a fresh new reviewer, check him out, description below. Also, if you want to contact me outside of YouTube, all that's in the description below. Thank you for your time. Bye.